All right, fantastic. So good morning again, everybody. It's great to see the folks that are joining us here for this Business Partner Spotlight. Today we're with Waterloo Container. So hi, George. I'm Val Venezia Ross, and today's session, we're going to talk for the next 30 minutes about small packaging upgrades that can make a big difference on the shelf. So it's great to see you all here. And George, welcome again. We're happy to have you with us today. You guys have been certainly a long-standing business partner member with us, so we're excited to learn more about the packaging upgrades and changes that will help drive DTC sales. It's more important now than ever before, of course. So before we go ahead and get started and hand it over to George, just a brief introduction and a thank you to Waterloo. Many of you already know that Waterloo is a family-owned wine packaging supplier with over 30 years of experience in the industry. And George brings over 30 years of sales experience working closely with customers to identify their needs and provide them with long-term competitive packaging solutions. So we're excited to learn from you this morning, George. Happy to hand it over to you if you're ready to go.
Thank you very much, Val. I generally do this meeting probably from the back of my Ford Explorer. Really hundreds of times where I have samples in the back of my truck and we pull them out and we look at them. So again, Waterloo Container is an almost 40-year-old family business. It's owned by the Lutz family. Waterloo Container is a distributor. For those of you that are not aware of that, we don't actually manufacture any of the products that sit in our building. We are just the middleman. The warehouse exceeds 350,000 square feet, and it is stuffed with bottles, closures, packaging materials to be fully prepared to supply them to our customers. As a stocking distributor, we partner and have partnered for over 30 years with world-class partners. Frankly, I decided to put together some notes. I am not going to use a PowerPoint. I'm actually going to use some materials that are off to the side here. And all these materials are items that you as winery owners, bottlers, people working in the wine industry are going to be very, very familiar with.
Hey, George, I hate to interrupt you. So I know we were talking about this before, and I know that we had a comment. We might ask you to move a little bit back from the mic. It's still a little bit, I guess we were calling it a hot mic, but it's still a little bit fuzzy and loud. Is that
no problem? Is this okay? A little bit better?
That I think so.
Okay.
People can chime in along the way, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, thanks.
No worries. So just as some of the world-class partners, and I'm going to do this in order of the presentation. So essentially, I'm going to talk about bottles first and upgrades, those incremental pricings as part of that. Then we're going to talk about closures, cork, then screw cap, shrink capsule. We're going to talk a little bit about master cartons and changes that could be made and pricing associated with that. And then the last part of the presentation, and I have my phone set to 1025, so there's no issues. We're going to talk about the possibility of maybe screen printing your bottles with UV non-toxic ink, and then sleeving. Both of those we do here locally. So a few of the world-class partners for bottles. The RDOG group. Oh, okay. The RDOG group makes 80% of the bottles that are stocked in our building. We supplement the RDOG group bottles with Owens, Illinois, OI. Typically, those bottles come out of their Mexico facilities. And then we supplement on some of the different shapes, and particularly champagne bottles, Veralia. And Veralia, another international company, those bottles actually come by container in a bulk format, and we pack them here. and those come from France as well as Chile. The corks clearly come from Portugal, but a lot of times the vendor that prints them for us is in California. Actually, both vendors, M.A. Silva and Amram, are our two primary vendors for that. The screw caps come from Canada predominantly, and we use a partnership with Amcor for that. We are the Northeast stocking distributor for Amcor. And then the master cartons we buy locally. We use a number of partners for that, depending on the customer's needs. And typically we use BCI out of Rochester. They have multiple plants that supply master cartons for us and for you. And we use International Paper, Tioga, as well as Georgia Pacific. So the materials actually come fairly locally, especially on those items, but many of the other ones come from an international sources. And the key for us is having what you need when you need it as a distributor. So we use that 350,000 plus square feet of space to make sure there's plenty of stock available. So now I'm going to jump into the first part of the presentation, which is bottles. What I'm going to try to do is provide you with some directionally correct pricing if you're taking notes. I'll also add in what I call other things to consider. I would like to make sure I add minimum order quantities to make sure you have a reference point. And then also lead times. The international supply chain, for a myriad of reasons, whether it be container timings and things like that, has become very bumpy and increasingly costly. So we try to maximize that as much as possible, and it's driven up some lead times. So the first section I'm going to call bottles. I'm going to actually start out with the W5 flat bottom, and I have a flint bottle in front of me. That's W65. It is a flat bottom bottle. We sell more of these bottles to our customers than any bottle combined, whether the color is green or clear. A W5 cork bottle weighs under 400 grams, so it's a lightweight eco cork bottle. As far as a price reference point, it's 71 cents, 70 cents a bottle. So for somebody that uses W5 on a regular basis, if they want to upgrade or change their packaging a little bit, they can jump up to a W65, which allows for a punted bottle, gives the customer a little bit different feel, maybe a little bit higher end. The bottle itself is actually a little bit heavier at 467 grams. So it's about 100 grams more, a little less than that. And all you're jumping yourself up is about 9 cents a bottle. So that's 71 cents a bottle converts to 80 cents. So a bulk pallet that has 12-pack boxes that might come to you would be 1,344 bottles on that pallet. And it would only cost an extra $120 per pallet to go from a W5 to a W65. And frankly, that's one of those questions I get asked fairly often. What if I wanted to change my packaging a little bit? What if I wanted to incrementally kick that up? From there, so we go from what I call value W5 to premium W65. The next level would be super premium. This is actually an antique green cork bottle. Has a little bit heavier punt. It weighs 600 grams, so it is quite a bit heavier. And this bottle is going to jump you up about 62 cents a bottle. So I have a number of customers that use this type of bottle, maybe for a red reserve. The bottle also comes in clear and flint if you wanted to put a Pinot or something like that, where you want to, or a rosé if you wanted to show off the color. Sometimes they use this heavier weight bottle and cork for what they would call a reserve or a limited release for their customers, or maybe even exclusively for their wine club that they're sending direct to their consumers or directly to their club members. So again, base level 71 cents, premium bottle 80 cents, only 9 cents more a bottle. This is quite a bit more at 62 cents more a bottle, but could be used for that special item that you really wanted to feature at your winery. Other things to consider, one of them would be change parts. So either yourself or you have a mobile bottler coming in to fill it. You want to make sure they're able to use all these bottle styles. Otherwise, that could be a showstopper for you. And the inner bore, the inside diameter of all these bottles are actually very similar to one another. And they actually use the same size corks, 24 millimeters by 44 or 45. And we'll talk about corks in the next section of the presentation. From there, I'm going to jump to a switch. So now we talked about upgrades, 1, 2, 3. The other thought is to take yourself and move from cork and maybe introduce a Stelvin option, a 1680 screw top that comes with aluminum caps. These bottles have actually become quite a bit less expensive. In 2020, we actually went from 70% cork to 30% screw top bottles, and we crossed to 50-50. Actually, we're at 51% screw top bottles over cork at this point, as far as manufacturing at the Ardagh facility in Pennsylvania. So that was an interesting shift. This bottle weighs the same, it's actually this bottle, champagne green, as the W5 cork. So it's also 395 grams an eco bottle. One of the things you'll notice with the Stelvin bottle itself is it actually has a mini punt to it. The reason why the mini punt was introduced is because you had to move the headspace up because you don't have the cork inserting in the bottle. And from your fill point, you don't want too much oxygen left in your vacuum packed, precious product that's in the bottle. So the W5 Stelvin version actually comes with a mini punt because of what's necessary to adjust the headspace. The W5 actually is at 66 cents each because we're making more and more of those. So there's actually an interesting 5 cent savings to go from cork to Stelvin at this point. As short as a few years ago, it was actually more expensive to have a Stelvin bottle, and now it's less expensive to have a 1680 screw cap bottle over cork. So you can upgrade to a W65 of this version, and the incremental cost, it's going to be a little bit more heavyweight, and that's going to jump yourself up to 93 cents. So cork, and then the incremental change could potentially be shifting something. Maybe you test it. Maybe you don't have the equipment to bottle with. For Stelvin closures, you bring in a mobile bottler. We also have machines that we loan out, single head manual feed tappers that customers can maybe run 3 or 4 pallets and test it out before they make the switch to Stelvin. So the W65 bottle is going to be 93 cents, which is going to be a little bit more than what the W65 cork is, because we haven't started to make as many of those yet. That's why it's more expensive. So again, the key is, can you apply the cap on that Stelvin bottle? And then a little bit later in the presentation, I'll talk about, kind of hard to show, the different caps that are stocked and available. So the next shift we're going to talk about in a packaging realm is maybe taking an existing fruit wine, for example, or one of the wines you have more in abundance. And one of the popular things that has been done over the last couple of years is they've used a bottle that's made for light pressure, up to 4 bars, with a Stelvin closure, with a screw top closure. They've gone to a co-packer potentially, and maybe did 500 gallons, 4 or 5 pallets, 5,000 or so bottles, and introduced one of their existing high volume wines in a lightly carbonated sparkling format. And all the feedback that I've received is it's gone fantastically for them. In this world of White Claw that's jumped off the charts, it seems like having a sparkling offer that's not as expensive at the end product as maybe traditional method champagne has been a great offering. One of the bottles that's just off screen here is one that Inspire More did. They actually sleeved this bottle that we'll talk about at the end of the presentation. And they used a co-packer and did a lightly sparkled white wine. Other format changes could be, sorry about jumping off the screen, doing sister bottles. So taking a W65, offering a 1.5 liter in the same size, whether it's cork or Stelvin. And then I have my water bottle that I'm sipping from here. It's all the sister bottles. So I'll do my best to hold all 3 of those up. So that's another incremental packaging change. The 1.5 liter is exactly twice the price of a W5. So it's twice the wine, the bottle's twice the price. So you're not really incrementally increasing your cost. And then obviously you'd only use 1 cork or 1 Stelvin versus 2. The latest offering, this is a bottle that I have sleeved as my example, is a sparkling 375 bottle. And these come in at 42 cents a piece. They actually have a crown twist. And this is something that's starting to gain popularity fairly quickly for that small package offering. So now we're going to switch to cork to make sure we keep moving around here and be mindful of my time. The corks come in 3 levels. The first one I actually have in the shape of a wine bottle is agglomerated. Agglomerated corks are about 13.5 cents. They come in bags of 1,000. Twin top corks, where you have a natural on either end with the agglomerated in the middle, come in at 14 cents. And then a full natural cork, which is in my other hand here, that's going to come in closer to 40 cents, 38.5 cents in a bag of 1,000. So one of the items as far as an incremental change, any one of these cork formats can be printed. Frankly, there's a new process that's called laser printing, where they can print on the top of the cork as well as the sides of the cork. And the incremental cost to do a top and side print laser printed with brown ink, looks like brown ink, actually only bumps up the price of the cork about a penny. There's a 13-week lead time, or I'm sorry, a 3-week lead time. And the laser mask, which is a one-time charge, is only $250. The minimum order quantity is 5 bags. So it's something that you could choose to do without a lot of extra expense and add branding onto your corks.
George, I was wondering, we had a question if you could hold the cork in front of your shirt. I don't know if people just want to see the kind of a little bit more definition.
Sure.
Thank you.
Let's see. So laser printing. So now I'll briefly talk about Stelvin. We stock 22 different colors. This is a box of what we call our bright colors. I see this growing in popularity. I have a few customers that use this bright pink and actually make a winery donation to breast cancer, to their local breast cancer society. We also have a full line of different colors of what we call our stock or our regular color Stelvins that complement the same PVC colors that somebody that uses cork might be used to. So silver, matte black, black, etc. That's what's inside this box. So an incremental cost for that, and this probably won't show up very well, is Amcor in California will actually laser etch. So on the top of the stock Stelvin, they'll actually laser etch a logo, and the minimum order quantity for this is only 4 boxes. So, and the lead time is quite long. They're out right now to 2 months because it's become so popular and it's pretty labor intensive because every one of them has to be placed and laser etched. But if you wanted to try out a logoed Stelvin without printing it and going through that expense, you could actually do 4 boxes with a 2-month lead time and a one-time $175 mask fee. And it only really jacks up the price from 12.3 cents, which is a stock Stelvin, and that would jump up to, it actually doubles it, 23.1 cents. But some of that has to do with the shipping cost to get it from California back to the East Coast. So that's another incremental packaging change for somebody that might want to logo their Stelvin. If for some reason you did want to print your Stelvins, and I have an example here of what that is. You can do top print, you can do side prints, you can do just side or just top. Those are only about 2 cents more, so like 14 cents. The downside is the minimum order quantity is 50 boxes. Which might be a multiple year supply of 67,500. So that would be cork, Stelvin. And then for the cork users that use PVC, many people are very familiar with our multiple stocked colors that we're doing our very, very best to keep in stock. Many of these actually come from Italy and some of them come from Canada. So we're doing our best to keep them fully stocked for you. So printing a PVC probably has the longest lead time to get developed. And it generally only adds another 3 to 5 cents to the PVCs. So if you want a full box of PVCs, we would actually charge 3.5 cents per PVC for a full box of 9,000. If you want us to count out the PVCs and send you multiple colors, we charge a little bit extra at 5.5 cents. And then if you wanted to actually work on a printed project with this that might require some printing plates one time with a 6 months, 4 to 6 month lead time, with a minimum order quantity of $50,000 or 50,000 pieces, that would jump up the price to $3. But only add another 3 pennies to the cost of the Stelvin. And that was my phone saying there's 5 minutes left for half an hour. Let's see. The next items that I'll jump through fairly quickly since time is limited are printed master cartons. Waterloo Container's latest option is what we call a domino printed box. This is where we take a stock box and use black ink and print a logo on it. And we only can print on the long panel. And we charge 25 cents per box on this. And we'll do orders as small as a full pallet. So 112 boxes if you wanted to. There's a little bit of a setup charge, $175, where we take your art, we give you a proof. But this is an easy way to get into a one color printed box with a logo at 25 cents per box. If you chose to do a medium coverage box printed at a vendor locally, We would actually pack the bottles for you. This is a good example of a medium coverage box. This box, even if you wanted to try it out, maybe at 1,000 boxes, would only add about $2.25 to your packaging cost. But it would give you a full option, a full complement on a floor display or something that's going out to your customers on a regular basis. So this is $2.25 fully packed, ready to go. And then this is a little bit more than a medium coverage box. If for some reason you decided to go full bore on full color printed box, this is actually a nice 2-color example of a white box with black and red. It's got top flap prints, bottom flap prints. This would be about $1.80 if you jumped up to 5,000 boxes. So whenever you're talking about master cartons, the lead time right now is about, from development to packaging, is about 60 days. But you do have to buy print plates. And what I usually tell people is each print plate is about $600 or $700, depending on how intricate it is. And the last item, and I'm getting sweaty in here because we turned off the air conditioning, is 2 options that we're offering locally. We have a sleeve tunnel that will apply plastic shrink sleeves to bottles. To give you some pricing on that, if you were to sleeve a W5 flat bottom bottle, this is one that Hazlitt did, that's multiple colors. It's got a beautiful 360 design. Try to show it off a little bit. So the same thing, the W5 Flint bottle would be 69 cents. A digitally printed sleeve at a lower order quantity of maybe 5,000 or 6,000 sleeves would be about 50 cents. And then it costs us about 30 cents to actually apply the sleeve. So to take your W5 bottle and do something really unique would end up being about $1.49 per bottle. And I'll grab this one. This is a 2-color screen printed bottle that we did for Atwater. They actually use this bottle. I'm going to use my water here. They actually use this to design in multiple ways by changing the color and also changing the logo on the bottom of what's inside the bottle. So to give you an idea, the same W5 Flint bottle is still going to be 69 cents per bottle. And the unique thing about screen printing is you don't have to buy any print plates. We would take your art files and provide you with a virtual proof. And to do a 3-color design on about 4 pallets, which would be roughly 5,000 bottles, only adds 57 cents to the bottle cost. So the total price there would be $1.26. And the lead time for a project is about 8 weeks from approved art. And it looks like we met our half-an-hour time constraint. Val, if you want to interject anything?
Yeah, just wanted to thank you. I have one question. I know we still have some folks left on the line. There's clearly kind of a world of options that wineries can choose from when they think about their packaging, and it's all going to be very specific to their business model and their needs. So, you know, every choice that you talk about has an impact on consumer perception and ultimately sales, right? So what service do you guys provide to help walk a winery through what those choices are for them, and what would the end result be? Can they raise prices? Can they bottle more wine? Can they reach more audiences or a different audience? Or is that something that wineries usually come to you with that information and then ask you those questions? And we didn't even get to the sustainability questions that I know some of our wineries have.
Yeah, so the trend is, as far as sustainability, to eco-weight bottles. It's actually in our sales away from the super heavyweights, except for very reserve items. And typically wineries want to grow, or they want to shift, or they want a different offering, maybe to compete with what's going on in the marketplace, like sparkling, for example. So a lot of times they'll come to us and ask us the questions about, how do we make that change? And really what I try to do here with all this stuff that's sitting in front of me is give everybody just a little bit of an idea of how that can be done. And hopefully we walk away with two things. One, it's not like super more expensive than what you're paying right now. It might be just rethinking what you're doing. The other thing is things have long lead times, so you want to plan. If you provide us with a forecast, we'll make sure you have what you need when you need it. And the other just like really helpful hint is if at the last minute you're working on a project and you make a major change, it's going to cost a lot of money because now you're starting back from scratch. You've already made an investment. So along the way, what we try to coach everybody on is what are the best ways to maximize this or minimize those incremental costs to get this to market.
Okay, great. So it is kind of like a partnership all along the way, right?
For sure.
And I have one more question if you have time to take the question.
And all the time in the world.
Go ahead and allow Olivia to unmute herself and ask her question if she'd like to.
Sure.
If Olivia is still there, or you can certainly type it in. There you go. It looks like we can hear you, Olivia, if you're there. Oh, she doesn't have a microphone. So no questions. All right. Looks like we're good. I think we will go ahead and thank you. With that, George, we're going to go ahead and end today's session, but we have recorded this and we're going to go ahead and get this out to folks along with your contact information. And then if they want to walk through their own process with you and ask about their specific scenario, they can do that. So thank you very much for joining us today, George, and everybody on the line. We really appreciate it. It was great to see everybody. Have a great day.
You too.
Take care.